Welcome to the latest episode of Husbandry, a place where we bring to color an institution that was taught to us in black and white. I have a special guest with us today, a special guest, Dwayne Frazier, multifaceted, multi-talented brother. We're going to talk about a few things. How you doing today?
I'm happy to be alive.
There you go. There you go.
And healthy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Man, listen, I can't wait for this because just that was just deep. So I know we get ready to get into the depths of everything. So I had a chance to show you before we went live with the recording, the picture that inspired this podcast. Malcolm X teaching the men in the Nation of Islam about husbandry and about how a man is supposed to have his place in the family. And even as a believer in Jesus, that picture always stuck out to me. But one of the things that I noticed is that we can teach about marriage all day and it keeps it black and white. But when we begin to jump into our stories, that's what brings it to color. When I can sit down with a gentleman who's been married over 20 years and say, I'm going through this, I'm going through that. So let's just jump into it. How long have you been married?
I've been married 33 years.
You've been married 33 years?
Yeah, 33 and a half.
Wow.
Because June will be 34.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that long for you.
Yeah.
33 years.
And a half.
And a half. Let me give you a half. If you could sum your marriage up, those 33 and a half years in one sentence, what would it be?
Wow. One sentence.
One sentence.
Persevering, power, praise. Throw another P in there. So one sentence, okay. Enjoy the journey. That's the one sentence.
Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, enjoy the journey. So let's talk about your journey a little bit. Tell me your love story. What's you and your wife love story? When did you meet?
Wow. I actually met my wife February 13th, 1987.
Wow.
We were on a ski trip. Our church, our sister church, Beulah Tabernacle, Arnold and Tyra Chandler, they used to do stuff for the single folks.
Yeah.
So they gave a ski trip. Arnold and Tyra, they were a couple that we looked up to. They were married, about 7 or 8 years older than us. So at the time, I was 22, Lori was 20. They gave a ski trip for some single Christians. And we met.
Mm-hmm.
And so we was skating and she said, oh, you look familiar, you know this guy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, because I thought she was 16.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a grown man, I'm 22. Looking at no child, she's
That's
16.
right, that's
She
right.
looked young. And so the drama ministry she was in was called Actors for Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in a drama group when I was in high school. So Actors for Christ performed at the ski trip.
Yeah.
And she was in Actors for Christ.
Yeah.
So I told him I want to get involved in acting. And at the time, Gary Johnson was the leader. Larry Scott, Rita Sandoval was in the group, Lori. And then somehow we got to talking. And she said she was 20. I'm 22. I said, oh, okay. This is a
little bit different now. That's right. Yeah.
I'm not going past 3 years. So two was safe.
Right.
And we started talking. And I joined the group because that was a unique way for me to do the gospel, through drama.
Mm-hmm.
It was different. So that's how we met at that ski trip. So we both were in Actors for Christ doing ministry together. Now, we went to Canada. Christian Stronghold, CRD, had a thing called Second Honeymoon and Singles Conference.
I remember that.
Actors for Christ performed at the Second Honeymoon and Single Conference in 1987.
So they were good. They've been getting booked everywhere.
Yeah, we were literally Reverend Gary Johnson, had us doing shows just about every weekend.
Yeah.
Friday night, Saturday night, and Sundays.
Yeah.
And we were trained, how to witness. So when we went to Canada, that's where the second honeymoon single conference was, August 1987. Now, me and Lori met in February. We connected. But I remember I had just met Larry James, and I love him dearly because on the way to Canada, I was telling him that I was serious about my girlfriend at the time, Lori. And he said, if you're really serious, you should go to Christian Stronghold because they have premarital counseling. I said, how much is it? He said, no, it's free.
Yeah.
And we talked. Me and him talked. And so as soon as I got back, I called the church. 2 weeks later, we were in counseling. And I think it lasted 6 months. And we met February 13th, 87. I gave her an engagement ring September 28th, 1987. And we got married June 3rd, 1989. So, yeah.
Now, before you met her, did you know as a man that you wanted to be married or did?
Oh, yeah. I knew I wanted to be married when I was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
What made
10.
you want to get married?
Well, I grew up, I'm the youngest of 7. All of my siblings was married. They older than me. It was what you did.
Yeah.
You were married, right?
Right.
You started your family. Now the ironic part was my mom and pop wasn't married. They're together. And I think we didn't want what they had.
Right.
So we were married. Even though they were together, they wasn't married.
Yeah.
But all of the siblings, we got married.
So could you, as a young boy, you're looking at your siblings, they're married, your mother and father are together, they're not married. Could you tell the difference between a marriage relationship and individuals who weren't married? And if so, what did that difference look like to you?
Well, also, the church I grew up in, Open Door Mission, Pastor James L. Ballard, they were married. So I also saw married couples in the church. And I knew that they were more serious, the married couples. Like, I never really seen my mom and pop flirt or kiss. I never saw that.
Yeah.
My pop was real serious, But the couples that I saw that I looked up to, even the ones that wasn't Christians, you could tell they enjoyed being married. And I knew that when I got a certain age, you get yourself situated, you get a wife. It was like graduate from college, go to high school, graduate, get a job, get married, start your family. I knew that. I just, at the time, wasn't sure who it was going to be. But I knew that was going to happen.
So talk to the young guy out here now, where society gives him all these different options. You can live with a girl, you can do a long distance relationship, you can be honest because there are more men than women, and so you can have multiple relationships if you want. How would you talk to him, persuade him, convince him on choosing marriage instead of all of the other options that he has out here?
Well, I think marriage is the foundation of family. And that's key, that foundation. And when you got family, that's the connection. So out of that family, you're passing down tools for your children to live, to bless them. The standards. All of those things come about. You don't get that from jumping from this girl to that girl to this girl, a baby here, baby there, baby there. There's no stability.
That's good.
So me seeing that growing up, and at the time my mom and pop weren't Christians, but later on down the line they were. That stability, it meant something. And I saw that, and I wanted that. Yeah.
So when you and your wife, Lori, get married,
Mm-hmm.
um, newlyweds per se
Mm-hmm.
aren't walking into a marriage and stability is just there waiting for them,
Right.
right? You got to
Right.
kind of work your way to this place of stability, but
Right.
that is the goal.
Right.
What did it take in your marriage coming in newlywed? So you got married in 89, you were 22 when you met her. So what were you like,
I
24,
was 24 and she was 22.
22?
And then she turned 23 that next week. I turned 25 that next month.
How did you find that stability that marriage offers in a way that is different than any other relationship? How was that stability developed?
Well, our foundation for our marriage, we said early on, was going to be the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, we surrounded ourselves with other Christians who wanted to be married and enjoyed being married.
Mm-hmm.
Cookie and George McCurdy, Arnold and Tyra Chandler, Calvin and Doty, those were some people we looked up to.
Yeah.
And they always kept their house open and homes for us. So, and they were like maybe 6 or 7 or 8 years older than us. So we looked up to them. And there were so many folks who had happy marriages. They weren't perfect, but they enjoyed being married and they were Christians. And so we kind of patterned our marriage after them. What made me solidify that Lori was the one for me was I was working for SEPTA at the time. I was a conductor on a railroad.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my job and they did me slimy.
Mm-hmm.
I got fired in May of 89. Our wedding was in June of 89.
Wow.
So we had already put money down on the house, sent out 200 invitations, and then I lose my job. I'm crying walking down Broad Street like, man, wait a minute. I've been working since I was 15. I'm about to get married. What I'm going to tell this girl. So I goes to her house. Look, we got to push this marriage back. I just lost my job. And I'm like trying to hold my tears because I'm like, man, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm.
She grabs my hand and say, no, we're going to trust God.
Mm.
You'll collect unemployment.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send out many resumes. You'll find a job.
Yeah.
Okay, you can get married today. You can get fired. You can lose your job the day after our wedding. Then what? So no, we're going to be fine. That right there.
That's the closer right there.
Yeah,
that
because
sees it.
my mom was made up. We pushed this back. I didn't even tell my parents. I was embarrassed. I wasn't going to go to them. And they didn't know till years later that happened. So for her to support me like that,
Mm-hmm.
going into the game, because everybody else would have said, nah, nigga ain't got no job. I ain't nowhere. I ain't going. And like I'm some bum.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Right, that's
no,
right.
I was making good money with SEPTA.
Yeah.
And they had somebody put out a lawsuit. They turned around and said, hey, anybody that lost their job from 86 to 96, come on back, his back pay, blah, blah, blah. But by then, I was like, nah, I'm done. But my wife, her, trusted God, believe it in me, said, hey, we gonna do this. That, yeah.
Man, I think that is so important. We had one of our first guests on here, Art Mitchell, also talked about that nowadays, what he believes he sees in generations that are moving in relationships and getting married now is that they have this tendency to want to marry each other's stuff and not one another. Right. They want to marry the degree. They want to marry the lifestyle. And talking to so many young men and women, if a person is darn near not perfect, they have to be darn near perfect,
right,
to be considered by some of these individuals out here. If you were coaching a younger guy, right, what would you tell him to look for in a woman? Look for these three things, and if you get them, you need to strongly consider.
Her walk with the Lord, how she relates to her father, and her her vision for what God wants her to do.
Right.
How she views marriage. Does she respect men and her father? Because from what I notice, if that respect isn't there for her father or a male that she looks up to,
Yeah.
then her stuff is more valuable than anything. Her degree, her home, her car, her career. You understand me?
Yeah.
Those things can be snatched. But love, caring, compassion, all of that is here. And you can't put a price on that.
Yeah.
Because one of the most precious moments I can remember, I think we were married a year or two. And man, we didn't have no car. I had a job. It wasn't a career at the particular time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we had just enough money. We caught the sub, the R bus, the sub, the L. We went to, this is how we celebrated our anniversary that one time. We went to the Cheltenham Mall, watched the movie, split a foot-long hot dog.
Yeah.
And caught the bus back home. And we were just so happy.
Wow.
Holding hands in the mall. I'm broke. Had enough money for car fare.
Yeah.
But the fact that at that time I was married and I had her.
Mm-hmm.
She had me. And I used to always tell her, it's not going to always be like this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we going to have her washing and dry. We ain't going to keep going to the laundromat. But that was one of the most precious memories that, see, it's like this. Les Brown said, in the prosperous times, you put it in your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
In the lean times, you put it in your heart.
Yeah.
And that's one of those moments that I cherish. You know, did I answer your question, man? I got
No. You're good. You rolling. You told her it's not always going to be like this.
Right.
How important is it for a man to have a vision, not only for himself, but for him and his wife and his family, if he's thinking about stepping into marriage?
Oh, that's got to be the key. And the vision has to be rooted in God. Okay. And you got to have someone that's going to support your vision.
Mm-hmm.
And you too should support her vision.
Mm-hmm.
That's important.
Yeah.
Everybody think the wife just got to support the man. No, the man got to support the wife's vision too.
That's right.
Because God got something he want her to do too.
That's right.
And it's just as important as your thing. Speaking of that, I'm trying to remember your question because I got off task.
How important is it for a man to have a vision, not only for his life, but for his wife and his family?
That's key because you don't know where God is going to take you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what's going to happen 2 years, 3 years down the line. That's why Jesus said trust. That's why it says in Proverbs, trust in the Lord with all our heart, lean not to our own understanding, all our ways, acknowledge him. He will direct your path. You can have a vision, don't see where it's going, but just trust God and watch him unfold and open doors.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, that's all part of that enjoying the journey.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a vision, you're wandering around blind. You don't know, you know what I mean?
Right.
I remember telling my wife, I want to do full-time ministry. I need to go to Bible college.
Mm-hmm.
She said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to work full-time, you'll work part-time, and you go to school full-time.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that time, I wanted to be a youth pastor.
Yeah.
That's the plan that worked for us.
Right.
And that's what we did. I wound up, at that time, I had to drop out of Bible college. I went back and got the degree years later, but we were working that plan. And she was supportive.
Yeah.
So that's all part of that vision. And every year, we didn't know, but the Lord made a way. So that, yes, you got to have a vision.
So let's talk about, let's hit the hot button topic. I think there's a part of every interview where it just gets heated up. You and I have probably referenced God, the Lord, church multiple times in here.
Right.
If there's somebody who's listening who is not a believer in God, who is not in church right now, and they're sitting there and they're wondering, why these two dudes keep talking about God when it comes to marriage? Isn't love enough? I don't need God. Can't I just love someone enough and make it through that way? What's all this God stuff they're talking about? What's your response?
My response is, for me, it doesn't work without God. He has to be the center, the anchor.
Mm-hmm.
And even though I'm not perfect and you go off track, he has to be the foundation, because I don't know how to treat my wife. I don't know how to love my wife. But God in me, through the Bible, will tell me how I'm supposed to do this, how I'm supposed to raise my children, how I'm supposed to love my wife, how I'm supposed to treat my wife. So that's the foundation of all of this. You just don't go by, like, you just osmosis. You just, no. You have to be taught how to be a husband.
Right.
And I'm going to say this about Christian Stronghold Church. Pastor Richardson was big on holding the men accountable, and all kinds of classes to teach you with men's breakfasts and things of that nature to build men up. You were proud to be a husband and a father.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so God was the foundation. There's no way in the world I'm married 3.5 years without God orchestrating.
Right. So let's talk a little bit more about your journey.
Okay.
Marriage is filled with seasons.
Yes.
Marriage is filled with peaks and valleys. Give me the best season of your marriage thus far and the worst season that you ever experienced in marriage. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we got, like I said early on, we got a reality hit when I lost my job before we got married. That gave us a taste of real life. God brought us through that. It was a part in my marriage, I think 95, 96, where it got rough. I walked away from the Lord, made some terrible, poor choices.
Mm-hmm.
And that was probably the worst time.
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Jimmy Johnson was our counselor. And I got up, walked out of counseling, said, man, you wasting my time. I ain't trying to hear this. I'm going to take care of my one son. I'm getting a divorce. I'm going to live like I want to live. I ain't living for the Lord no more.
Mm-hmm.
So I was real bitter. Some things happened, and I walked away from the Lord. That time was the roughest time in my marriage. What got me back was my wife's response.
Mm.
When I was staying out late, doing stupid stuff, she kept loving me, forgiving me, right? So the more, seemed like, because sometimes, man, I would come home from work, I'm mad, and she have dinner ready and wouldn't argue and just, because she said, Pastor Richardson preached a sermon one Sunday that said, loving your spouse as if he or she was doing everything you wanted them to do.
Even if they're not.
Even if
still
they're not.
love them that way.
Right. And she said that sermon made her say, okay, God, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so her love in that midst, and then Pastor Johnson, he kept saying to me, man, God is going to use your marriage to bless a lot of couples. I said, man, I ain't trying to hear that. I ain't coming back to no counseling. I'm going to take care of my one son, and I'm going to live my life.
Mm-hmm.
When I talked to them about, they said, I don't remember saying that. Oh, you said it. You said it. And early on in our marriage, my father told me, he said, you need to make sure you surround yourself with other Christian men. He said, guys that go to church, because at the time my father wasn't a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you need to surround yourself with guys, married guys who go to church that want to be married. You can't be really hanging around guys who ain't married because y'all in two different worlds. So get around, and I've always fellowshipped with couples who wanted their marriage to work, Christian couples.
Yeah.
And I've always stayed connected and we held each other accountable. And to this day, I've always had that. People who I trusted and loved, and I wanted to be around that because, yeah.
So is that what brought you out of that dark time, brought you out of that, made you switch back to saying, you know what, I want my marriage, I want to stay here? Was it the community that was around you, the people that you can talk to? Because let's keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
There's some men out there right now
Mm-hmm.
that are going through exactly what you went through in 95. They're going through it now.
Mm-hmm.
How do they diagnose what's going on in their heart?
Mm-hmm.
And how do they get to a place where they can get an objective opinion and objective truth on what they should do?
If you got folks that, as they say, keep it real with you, who aren't afraid to let the iron sharpen the iron, it's a scripture that says, faithful are the wounds of a friend, but deceitful are the kisses of an enemy.
Yeah.
You got folks like that, they're going to pull your coattail.
Yeah.
I had my father who didn't like when I was going through the stupid times, and I got 4 older brothers and 2 brother-in-laws. So they were pulling my coattail.
Mm-hmm.
They wasn't scared to confront me. And then I had some Christian friends who would call me. And then the key to it all, I was miserable. And my wife's response of her prayer for me and loving me, okay, Lord, I'm coming back. It don't make sense for me to ruin my life knowing how good you are, knowing what you have done and can do and will do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, before we move on, because your counselor at that time, Jimmy Johnson, said you and your wife are going to bless just numerous amounts of people in their marriages.
Yeah.
And that actually ended up coming to fruition. And I want to get there because I want to talk about that. But before we get there, one of the things that I hear consistently in your journey, especially from your wife's side, and from your side also, is this willingness and this commitment to sacrifice for one another. Even if that individual is acting unlovable right now, I'm still gonna love them. Somebody told me like this: marriage is an imperfect person married to another imperfect person with a perfect God. Right. And sometimes your mate could be acting like the worst person in the world. But like you said, you have to love them like they're doing everything right, because what they do, it's not your responsibility. Right. But what you do and how you love them. How big was sacrifice for your marriage?
It was, once the kids came into play and I knew how my father was, I knew that, okay, you gotta, come on. You know, the sacrifice piece that came with it from what I was taught, from what I had witnessed in my family. So, you know, the rough times were gonna come, they were normal. So it was talk, oh, I'm leaving, but I never went nowhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the sacrifice, it was just something that had to happen in order for us to grow and develop.
Yeah.
You know? And I really didn't, it was just, okay, because people kept saying, oh, once you get to your 7th year, man, it's going to be rough. It's going to be, and I think during the time, that was our 7th year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
It was totally different for my story. Our first 10 years, and we were going in our 11th, were a breeze. But then when we got this 10th year, we just hit a wall, right? And I had a situation that was, similar to yours, where I was just thinking in my mind, man, do I even want to be here, right? And I thank God that the only people that I had access to call and who I wanted to call were men who had been married way more than me. And they would say, Darren, check your heart. Your heart is deceitful, right? What else is going on? All of this and all of that. But there are also other ways that people can get this kind of help. And you and your wife do this. You throw a marriage conference every year. And I'm talking about this marriage conference is the talk of the town. It's it. I see people dressed up in themes. They having fun. They're doing this. Tell us about how that started. What made you and your wife say, we're going to put a marriage conference together? What started it? Why'd you do it? What was your goal? What did you really care about? Give us the story.
Well, we've always fellowshiped with other couples.
Mm-hmm.
From the time my pop told me that, and when I was going to a church, my wife was going to a church, she got married, I didn't want to join her church. She had to come to my church. She didn't like it. So because we knew friends at Christian Stronghold, we said, well, let's check that church out.
God got a way of getting you places where he wants you to be, don't he?
Yeah. And because, at the time, we come from a little small Pentecostal church.
Right.
So you go to Stronghold, which was big.
Yeah.
At the time, it seemed so big.
And conservative.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we went there, and we liked it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we went there twice, then we joined. And I remember, because I didn't know any married couples my age, I went up to people and I introduced myself to them. And one of the first people we fellowshiped with was Derek Mason.
Mm-hmm.
I joined the youth ministry. I think Derek is a year older than me. At the time, he was the youth director. I invited him and his wife over, and I started, almost every weekend, we would invite Christian couples over our house for fellowship.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to know and be around people who wanted their marriage to work and who were Christians. So out of that, we started having game nights and doing stuff, right? And then it was a core of us who would go on vacations together every year. So I would always call couples up and say, hey, let's go to a movie, or let's have game night. So then the game nights was rotating over different people's houses. So it was always doing stuff with couples.
Yeah.
So one day my wife said, you know what? I would like to have a retreat, put together a retreat for the couples. And I said, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So she talked about how we was gonna do it and what she wanted to do and all that. Then she said, nah, and next time, let's do a retreat. Let's do a retreat. Let's run. And nah, and then, babe, let's do this.
Yeah.
So the retreat was her vision.
Mm-hmm.
But it all started out of all the game nights, the couples fellowships, doing vacation with other couples and all of that. It came from that. And she said, how about if we do this, do X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you really think it's gonna work? She said, yeah. I said, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that whole vision was a vision that God gave her.
And that's an example of you supporting her vision.
There you go. Because she always supported whatever God called me to do. So when she said that, I said, all right, let's make it happen. And this is our 8th year.
Yeah.
And every year it's literally grown.
Yeah.
It's grown. And
what are you most thankful for from starting this retreat? When you go home and you think about all 7 years that have passed, this 8th year coming up, February, correct?
Yes.
What are you most thankful for?
I'm most thankful for that when I had people try to tell me to stop, when I had people tell me don't do it, you shouldn't do it, no, don't do it. I'm thankful that I didn't listen.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't, if I would have never did it, where would we be?
Right.
There's been folks coming to the retreat from all over. We had somebody come from Arizona, people coming from Oklahoma, Georgia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina. So it's getting bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'm thankful that I listened to God, that we listened to God in spite of the resistance that came forth.
So what's the hope? And maybe because the Lord gave this vision to your wife, we might have to sit down and ask her, but what's the hope for the conference? Does it keep growing? Does it, what do you want married couples walking away saying after they leave a happily married retreat?
I want them to say that if we do this thing God's way, our marriage can work and we can still enjoy each other if we do it God's way. Not my way, not your way, not Dr. Phil's way, not Oprah Winfrey's way, but if we do it God's way, we can enjoy this and it'll work.
Yeah. So let's end this here with 2 more questions.
Uh-huh.
If I gave you billboard space in every city across the country, or I gave you a blimp that you can fly across the country, and you had to tell people one message or one warning or one piece of advice about marriage, what would it be?
Trust God, do it His way, and enjoy the journey. And, I was telling her when I was teaching last week in Sunday school, I was saying, it's mind-boggling to think, because I was saying this not only to the ladies, but I was saying to the married ladies who was in the Sunday school class, I said, somebody proposed to you and they said that they want to spend the rest of their lives with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
That somebody loved you enough, because a lot of women don't get proposed to.
Yeah.
They don't know what that felt like.
Yeah, that's true.
So for somebody to say, wow, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, good and bad, ups and downs, that's something. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And that's special.
So one of my favorite books is a book titled Is Marriage for White People?
I've read that.
Oh, I love that book.
You love that book?
I love that book.
I ain't like it.
I'm gonna get to the point, right? You didn't like the book?
No, because to me, go ahead.
No, go. I want you to share.
No, to me, what I got from the book, it started out good, right? And I like that fact. But to me, it seemed like he was pushing Black women need to start dating outside their race, because a lot of Black men are either in jail or gay or got multiple children, blah, 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 ain't working, blah, 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 and that they need to start dating outside their race. Now, I'm not against interracial dating, but the book started out strong and I liked it, but then it led toward that. And I was like,
yeah, I agree with you. I think in the book, he had a serious concern about Black women. Black women are, out of the rest of their counterparts, they're the last to get married and the first to get divorced. But what was very intriguing to me is how he came up with the title of the book. He's in Washington, D.C.
Right.
He's talking to fourth graders, right?
Yeah.
And he asked these fourth graders, I want to invite some of my friends to come here and teach you some things. What do you want to learn about? And one of the little boys said, we want to learn how to be a dad. And he says, okay, I'm going to invite some of my married friends. And the little boy says to him, fourth grader, we don't want to know how to be married. We want to learn how to be dads. Marriage is for white people.
Right, yeah.
And so my question to you off of that is, how do we prepare the next generation of African-American boys to see marriage as something that should be a part of their legacy, to be around marriages that are thriving, that have gone through tough times, but have made it on the other side? What is our responsibility as married men right now to prepare that next generation?
Wow, okay. I teach 3rd and 4th grade, and one of the ways that I try to implant that in their mind, when you come in my room, it says, welcome to success on the wall. And then when you look on my desk, there's an 8x10 photo of me and my family. That's the first thing to see. Bow! So they know Mr. Frazier's married. Every Christmas, I give my students a gift, and in the card, there's a wallet-size photo, because we take a picture every year.
Right.
And since I've been teaching, I always do that. I give, and so first kids say, that's your baby mama? No, it's my wife. Same thing. No, it's not. Those all of your children? Yes. So they need to see men such as yourself, such as myself. Once they see it, they get around it, They know it's a reality for them that you can be married, you can have a family, you can own a home, you can. I think when they see it and you pour it into them that they can have it, you can have it.
What's the biggest thing a man needs to know about love to be a successful husband?
Forgiveness, and that you're not going to be perfect. Forgiveness is key, and just trusting God. I mean, really enjoying the journey and understanding that, delayed gratification, we were taught with that. Nowadays, instant email, Instagram, everything's quick, email, microwave, quick. Nobody understands that that delayed gratification is key. You learn growth and development, patience. You learn and you develop. It's like the butterfly inside the cocoon. You don't start out. It's ugly, it's rough. Then you see the results after that.
Yeah.
So I think we have to teach the younger folks that you're not going to start away making $200,000 a year, living in a house for $500,000 and picket fence and all of that. No, you might start out in the row hole. Okay, baby steps.
Yeah.
And more men, we have to put ourselves in positions where the young guys can see that marriage is not for white people. Marriage is the foundation for family, which is the foundation of life. And being that example, that's why my wife will come up to the school during the holidays. I make sure that they know I'm married and I always say, one day you're going to be a good husband. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. So I'm already pouring seeds into them. Man, one day you're going to have a job, a car, a home. One day you're going to be married. One day you're going to be a father. Not the other way around. You know, to try to encourage them, it can happen.
Yeah, getting them to see marriage as an accomplishment that is filled with dignity, that is filled with honor, instead of what the norm is right now for a lot of young guys, marriage being this relationship that is about being locked down and not being able to get all of these other women or all of these other things outside. You know, some of us in society, we paint marriage, it might as well be relational prison.
Yeah. That's
right. Like that's how it's painted.
Right.
Right. Like it's a relational prison. And if you really want freedom, you find freedom outside of the marriage covenant and not inside of it. So let's make that our last question. How do you find a very refreshing, a very enjoyable freedom inside of marriage? Why is freedom better? And that's a presupposition because I'm saying it's better. I believe it's better. So that's my presupposition. But do you believe freedom is better inside of marriage versus outside of the marriage institution and the covenant?
Well, I think it's better inside.
Why?
Well, because I enjoy coming home to my wife. It's a nice feeling knowing that somebody wants to see you. It's a nice feeling knowing that you coming home to a warm house after you done, had a hard day at work. You know what I mean? After you done drove home through traffic, somebody's home wanting to see you, wanting to hold you, talk to you, hear how your day went, sit down and eat dinner with you, watch a movie with you. That, to me, I never was into the player thing.
Yeah.
I never was, even as a teenager or whatever, everybody had a girlfriend or whatever, but the player thing wasn't me.
Right.
Right? So, because I saw that, I saw people enjoying marriage and being happy with their marriage, my older brothers and siblings, people I grew up with in my church, I wanted that. I flirt with my wife, talk trash. I can't groove like I used to because I'm 58. I mean, I still can talk. But it was just the fun part of it.
Yeah.
And even though we pushing close to the 60s, there's some couples in their 80s that's on my block that I know that I tell Lori all the time, we gonna be like them.
Yeah.
And they have couples over their house, and he flirts with his wife. He's retired, she's retired. And I tell her, that's us 25 years from now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know for sure that people are always watching our marriages. And I want to close this session out with song lyrics that I love from J. Cole when he's talking about marriage and he's talking about love. And he says, I want a real love, a dark skin and a Viv love, that Jada and that Will love, that leave a toothbrush at your crib love, and you ain't got to worry about if it's your kid love. Right? Like that's the freedom that comes along. Like this marriage relationship comes with a trust, comes with an intimacy, comes with a peace of mind that other relationships don't come with. Right. And as you grow and as you learn and as you live, you realize that peace, trust, faithfulness, monogamy, and all of these other things are the ones, that's the stuff that really counts.
Right.
Right. You can look cute, look good all you want.
Right.
But are you getting those real things? You know, are you getting those real things?
And see also too, with marriage, right? You're impacting your children. Right? I remember one time me and Lori was arguing. We was arguing. I think my son might have been 3 years old, right? We were arguing. And at the time our basement wasn't finished, he went in the basement, grabbed our wedding tape, cut the TV on, put it in the VCR, and said, look. And it was us with the wedding vows. We both turned around and said, boy, turn that off. And then it was like, then we looked at each other and said, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Even a 3-year-old know we shouldn't be acting like this.
Yeah.
He's reminding us, look.
Right.
Now, he don't remember that, but we remember that.
Yeah.
Right? Now he's 30, and he says to me, Dad, I'm going to switch my career. I'm in school to get my bachelor's. I want to buy me a house. I'm going to get married. I want to get married, and I want to start my family, just like you and Mom did.
Wow.
So that's generational.
And that's a part of that delayed gratification.
There you go.
Yeah.
So that makes me, thank you, Lord, because he wants to do what we did.
Yeah.
He said, Dad, I saw you and Mom. So I want the same thing. You know what I tell him? Do it God's way, man. It'll work.
Yeah.
It'll work.
Marriage, a part of it is about studying. It's about learning. It's about learning your mate. It's about learning the opposite sex. Give me your top 3 favorite books that a married couple should read. And then give me your top 3 favorite movies that a married couple should watch.
Wow. The books, wow. His Needs, Her Needs. How We Love. And I'm picturing the cover of the book. It's called Loving Solutions.
Okay.
My movies are, I like movies that have Black people who are married. I do my own personal study, like Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee. You know, like movies like The Brothers, The Best Man. It showed, like, How Did I Get Married? Right, the first one.
Right.
Because we were doing that way before Tyler Perry did that movie.
Right.
It would be, and we did this for like 16 straight years. The Mitchells, the McNeils, Mike and Tina Tillman, Alfonso and Rita, Nolan and Shannon, me and Lori, Tony and Rose.
Yeah.
We would go on a vacation without kids. Every year for 4 days. For 16 straight years, we did it. Then we took vacations. We did that with all of us. Then we would individually go on a vacation, just me and our spouse.
Yeah.
Just go. And then sometimes Charles McNeil and Angie, they would be with us too. So we did, our kids came up together And we knew it was going to come a time where now our kids are talking about doing that.
Yeah, I'm thinking, man, a lot of us younger married couples need to be doing that, man.
Yeah, because
getting away on vacation together and
we held each other accountable. I mean, it's like, okay, one of our spouses would say, look, you need to talk to your friend.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
without saying anything.
Right. Talk to your boy.
Right.
Get your boy.
So Charles McNeil would call me and say, we got to go to personal Big George's. This was when Big George was on 52nd Street.
Right.
I go, oh, man, I'm going to get a lecture.
Yeah.
But that was my boy.
Yeah.
You understand? Well, Kevin Parker, he's another one. I miss him dearly. Wow.
Yeah.
I love that guy, him and Jeanette. So and that's the kind of thing that iron sharpened iron.
So let's talk about that because you keep bringing up great points. I got to let you out of this chair pretty soon. It seems like when you were coming up with the couples that you were in community with, marriage was this corporate community experience. Now, I feel like even this may be some of the ways that my wife and I do it that could be wrong, and we need to be checked on this. Marriage is so individualistic. My relationship, my family, because we're so busy, right? It's not like we don't want to be around people, but you got work, 50 hours a week, you got kids. What advice would you give to couples that are married right now about breaking up this individualistic relationship philosophy that we have and actually diving in to community, 6, 7, 8, 9 couples and doing marriage together?
We play games, right? You can just say, we all gonna watch the Eagles game. Everybody coming over my house.
Yeah.
Doing stuff like that. I made it my business to, like my father told me, you need to hang around some Christian friends who are married. And my pastor at my church, when I was in the military, because when I went to the military, right, he fostered, I think he was maybe 30 and we were 19. And he fostered us being tight. We couldn't wait to get married and find our wife who God led us, and we still keep in touch to this day.
Yeah.
So that's important to be around each other because we looked forward to having fun together. Whether it was going to see a movie, just coming over each other's house to watch the Eagles, going on playing a game night, because my wife and I, we would create games.
Yeah.
It might be the men versus the women, Family Feud.
I can't go to game nights.
Stuff like that.
Too competitive.
Right? And it was fun. So we would do that, right?
Yeah.
And we would do it like maybe like every season. And so we would get out an award when we played in like the married couples game. It was basically like the newlywed game. And we would give out a plaque. So couples would want to win. We keep score, right? First place get the plaque. Second place get T-shirts. Third place get movie tickets. We did stuff like that. So it was fun. So the couples, they wanted a break from their kids. They wanted a break from their job.
Yeah.
So we would look forward to doing that.
Yeah.
And then out of that, man, God will connect you with somebody that you'll form a bond with. Somebody that you can talk to, say, man, I need prayer.
Yeah.
Man, I need help, man. I got so upset, man, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So you need that accountability. And the motto for our retreat is faith, fun, and fellowship. The faith is about believing in Christ, fellowshipping with other couples, and having fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, brother, I appreciate you so much for coming through and dropping these gems on us. I pray that you and your wife keep doing what you're doing. I get a chance, when we talk about privilege, I tell individuals all the time I'm a privileged Black man because I get to sit around men who have been married 30 plus years. Here's another reason why I'm a privileged Black man. You can't go to every church and they have a married Sunday school class.
That's true.
So I get to come on Sunday morning, and after I go to worship service or before, I get to come and see you and your wife teach. And I get to hear your stories, and I get to hear other married couples. And so, man, you are blessing one of the most important institutions that's here on the face of earth. And so I just hope that you keep on going. And once again, thank you for doing the Husbandry Podcast.
Thank you. Got to give all the credit to the Lord.
Yeah, appreciate you.
You want a Christ-like marriage, but you don't want to live for Christ.
Yeah, it kind of like don't work like that.
I want to be sober, but I still want to go to the bar.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to get a body like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but I want to eat cookies and candy. No.
And you know what's crazy? Like submitting to a Christ-like marriage, when it comes to the times when you don't want to live for Christ, that thing will save you. So last week's, I think that a good title for it is marriage is about holiness, not happiness, right? How do you prioritize holiness before this idea of happiness? And John had this great illustration where it's like if you chasing happiness is like a cat chasing an infrared red. It's over here 1 second, then it's over here the next second, and then you want this and then you want that. But when it comes to, man, God, I'm going to be holy for you, that puts you in this box that is restrictive, but it's the safest freedom you'll ever find.
I'm going to suggest y'all to do this, fellas, with the wives, with the kids.
Mm-hmm.
I would take the kids and just go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would take them to Chuck E. Cheese for a few hours just so she can get a nap, so she can get some sleep.
Yeah.
And then when you get home, you might get...
Right. Listen.
that might, you know what I'm saying? I remember Pastor Richard said, you don't have to try to figure out all women. All you got to do is study just one.
Yeah.
The one that God gave you.
Yeah.
I mean, the earlier years, man, you're hitting it every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Yeah.
Now you got to make an appointment.
I know that's right. Yeah.
Right. So, and
get rescheduled again.
Right.
Dre, we just let you know, Dre. We just let you know.